Coach, you've been here a few years now. How is this season maybe different from the rest? What are you seeing from the team, and how comfortable do you feel about this group?
I think they're just different now because the rosters are changing a lot more day to day. I mean year to year. My first couple of years, you'd have a team, and 75% of the team would come back. But now it's, we had so many draft picks last year and the portal and everything else that I think that's the biggest dynamic. I really like our group, but there's a lot of things to find out about us, and we need to find out really early in the season.
Robbie, we talked in the fall about your offense. You felt like that was a group 1 through 9 that could be really good. But, one of the things, you look back at last year, y'all had trouble finding guys off the bench that could come in and really help you. And this year it looks like you have a lot of guys that you could piece in there. What's your thoughts on the depth that you've built in the lineup this year?
Well, at the beginning of the season, you always feel like you got enough, and then about halfway through, you wish you had another arm and another hitter, or every other sport. But I do like our pieces. It gives you a little bit better chance to manage. Sometimes we just haven't been able to match up right. Last year, as soon as we hit SEC play, we didn't have Ross, we didn't have Dylan. And those were two big pieces that hopefully are going to be really big pieces this spring, coming up. But I do think it gives me a chance to match up a little more left on left or right on whatever it might be. On the pitching side, too, I think we have a little more flexibility than we've had.
Coach, last year, what we generally heard from you and the players was, let's turn this thing around.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah.
So what kind of expectations and not goals, but just objectives do you share with the team this year?
Well, we want to go to Omaha. So I think that's always the one. And to go to Omaha, you got to host. And so I think the message has been about being consistent, taking care of all your games, not just the big ones on Friday night, and putting yourself in a really good position so you can host. That feeling, at least that feeling is, like you said, it kind of sat on the program. And, I like to think that's out of here, and we're ready to play ball and move forward after last year's group. They got us back on track.
Steve, you could have had anybody come out here and represent the offense today, but you sent a newcomer. You sent
my beer league champion right there, Noah Sullivan. So.
Yeah. So why was he the right pick to come out here today and open the season at the first media availability?
Well, we have some returning guys, but we have so many new guys, and Hunter doesn't like to do this a lot, so he just save it for game day. But we're going to have to lean on some new guys, and we had to lean on some last year. And I just, the challenge with these rosters now is you got to have leaders quick. And Noah Sullivan's played more baseball than probably anybody in that clubhouse, besides Stone Simmons. That those two guys have been around this for a long time. So the challenge is, some of my leaders are some of my new guys because they've done it, and they've done it at a high level, and they got great makeup. So just trying to blend it in. I told Travis I wanted one new and one old. So Noah was my pick today.
Benjamin?
A bit of an offbeat question, but I'm working on a feature on Paul Sullivan and his uniform database, and he told me that he worked with you to design some uniforms a few years ago. So I just wanted to ask you about what that was like working with him and his skills, and I don't know if you've seen what he's got out there.
What was nice, I'm not on Twitter right now, so I don't see it as much anymore, but what I like is he can show you what it looks like. And so I had a couple different ideas we've always tried to say super traditional here. Like I tell every recruit, we're like the Yankees. When you cut on TV, man, you see the, M over S, you see the 85s, you see the pinstripes, and it doesn't change. You don't have to see the scroll at the bottom to see who's playing, like the Yankees. Watch the Red Sox, and they're yellow and blue now and all different colors. I want to be as traditional as we can, but little pieces that, when you put a little something on a sleeve, he can really show you that. And he had really put together some neat things. I think he does a great job. And we did. We talked a little bit, and he would mock some stuff up for me, maybe is the best way to say it, and kind of help me get through that process. I don't think we have any changes this year. We're just good old maroon 85s and some pinstripes and some different things. But he's done a nice job and been a big help.
Sam?
You talked about at the beginning how there's so many just new players on this team, and you're still trying to learn a little bit about what you have. So what are some of those things you're still trying to learn about this group a few weeks to go into the season?
I think our defensive flex, is a big piece for me. Who's going to play where? Managing a game. Does somebody need to play somewhere late? You know, I need to have multiple guys that can do multiple things. You know, who are my center fielders and who can move, who's better in left or right as I move them in. I think those are big pieces, and I think the same thing goes for the mound. Trying to see, you know, what are the pieces that we have there. You know, I don't know if I didn't know we had them last year, a Cal and a Lowe at this time. We have a very talented pitching staff with a lot of diversity, which I really like. So I don't know if we have two guys in the front that are going to give you 7 innings, you know, on average. But I do think we have a lot of good pieces in there and exciting pieces.
One of the reasons you were so much better a season ago than the year before that was defensively. You took a big step forward.
Mhm.
You lose, you know, some key pieces there in the middle of that defense. How do you feel about those guys going into the season?
I feel really good about it. You know, Dylan Cup, now, you know, I didn't think David. I think we got to Virginia, and David had made like 1 error all year at shortstop, and I think he made a couple in Virginia. But, you know, a couple errors from your shortstop all year, that'll really help your fielding percentage. And I thought one of the unsung guys was Connor Heisek. I mean, Connor just made play after play, and you really didn't even notice it out there. But, man, we got Hunter back, and I thought Hunter, you know, I think we sat here this time last year worried about Hunter defensively, you know. I think he showed he could really play defensively, and Dylan Cup is one of the better defenders in the country. So I feel really good. And then we get, you know, Ross Highfield back behind the plate with a Joe Powell and a Jackson Owen. That's, you know, you build your team through the middle. I think you have a really good opportunity there to be good defensively.
Coach, you talk about, you know, the acquisitions of some newer players, spending on some new players today new to the portal. Talk a little bit about acquisition of Ace Reese and the kind of role that you expect to see him playing in this year among some of these other new guys.
Well, Ace had a great fall, and he was a big recruit. Probably one of the hardest fights we had this summer coming out of the portal. Showed kind of why this fall. You know, big left-handed bat, but what I love about him is, you know, knock on wood, he doesn't strike out a ton, hits the ball at all parts of the ballpark, power at all parts of the ballpark. Still a work in progress. He's working his tail off defensively every day, but probably have a chance to run out there and play third base, you know, get going in the season, and then just kind of learn on the run. You know, I think he has a chance to be a third baseman in pro ball down the road. He's got the tools. He just needs the experience now. But he's going to be a big piece for us. He'll be right in the middle of the lineup.
Coach, Hunter's not here, so if I may, I'll ask you my Hunter Hines question.
Okay.
He's within striking distance of the career home runs mark. What does he mean to this team, and what would it mean if he left here breaking that record?
Well, he means a lot. I mean, he's a middle of the lineup type hitter, and you know, when you coach against somebody, you're always looking at somebody's lineup and saying, "Don't let that guy beat us." And he's that guy, you know, that you should be looking at and saying, "Man, this guy's one of the toughest outs in the league." I'm trying to get him to hit the ball more to left field, so hopefully he won't be thinking about those home run records. But it'd be awesome. That was one of the challenges when he came back. Like, you can come back here and do some special things and still have pro ball on the other side, and look back and say, man, that was one of the best hitters in, you know, Mississippi State history. He's still got to work. He's got to get after it. This game is tough, so he wants to get back on track. It takes a lot of hard work, but I like what he's doing right now.
Benjamin, obviously a ton's been made about Hunter coming back for senior season and after not being drafted, but another guy who's played a ton of ball for you is Bryce Chance. So what kind of work have you seen from him in the offseason? You know, he had a great year last year. How's you looking to build on that?
He's been good. He's fighting for center field right now, so really wants to move over and play some center. Him and Mikey O'Brien are playing. I got my right and my left out there, playing back and forth. But he had a good fall, and he has the experience. I mean, he's done it. He's been a part of it, and I think that's a big part of this. But, you know, like it's been the challenge for the whole offense is we got some pretty good guys came in too, so there's a battle everywhere. So he's really responded to that, worked hard, and, you know, I'm looking forward to him having a good spring training here, getting ready for the season.
Coach, last year, or you mentioned earlier that you need to get guys to show up in games outside of just the big game on Friday night. Last year, there were a lot of series where y'all would finish the series, take the series 2-1. Just how do you get that message across to this year's team that they need to complete the sweeps or try to do their best to complete the sweep each and every weekend? Yeah,
I mean, it's just about coming and playing that day, that game. You know, you've heard it so much, coach speak, but we say it all the time. But it is. It's the Tuesdays when it's, the hardest ones for us to motivate is Tuesdays, because you come out here on a Friday night against LSU and the place is packed, and then you show up Tuesday and the opponent's not LSU, but the opponent's still good and they all want to beat you. It'd be the game of their life. And so that's been the biggest motivation. And we've talked a lot of just about consistency. It's hard to sweep in the SEC at home or on the road. You're going into battle for every one. But still, every game counts, and you look down at a season like last year, boy, you say, man, I wish we could have had that game back or that game back, and we could have won, or should have won, and we don't.
Robbie, it seems like there's kind of like a renaissance of these dual position players, these guys, even some of the top draft picks, these guys playing in the field, hitting, pitching, all that stuff. You have several of those, you're recruiting several of them. What's kind of your mindset on that? And for the guys this year that you have, what do you feel like their role is, and how do you balance what you do with those guys, I guess?
My whole career, I started at the Citadel, and we just had to get every player that we could, and we had two-way guys everywhere. We're in Omaha, and our pitchers in the bullpen with the shin guards on, warming up and coming into the game. I think we had two other pitchers that were catchers for us, ended up being major league pitchers. At Louisville, we had Brendan McKay, one of the top two-way players ever. But we had a bunch of other guys. And then I go to Indiana, and we have the first team two-way player in the country. So it's always been something that I sell a lot. And just because, we just happened to land on Nolan Stevens, who's probably got a great shot to be our right fielder every day, and also has a chance to be a great reliever probably for us, come in and get us 3 big outs. You saw him do that a lot last year. And then we got Noah Sullivan in the portal, and that was one of the reasons, just because we could show that we could do it. And, he should be in the lineup every day, but also has the chance to really help us out on the mound and help us, probably once a week guy. He's probably not a guy you use every other day. Nolan you could probably use a couple times, but Noah may give you that 3-inning stint. But you're getting a mature, older guy. I think the only loss of his career, if I'm not mistaken, somebody told me, was Kentucky. He lost to Kentucky last year. But, he's just had a lot of success. The stuff is good. We got guys with probably a little better stuff. But the makeup and pitchability is really high, and just toughness, on the mound. But we got a couple coming. We've kind of, that's just kind of been our thing. And then you're rotating into a 34-man roster. So I think they're going to be even more valuable in time.
This last year, he was like, it seemed like strictly pitching. I know he came in and hit some, but in the summer, it was hitting the whole time and had a really big summer. Was that y'all's decision, wanting him to get more at bats?
Yeah, he needed to get more work there. And nowadays with the arms, you're not even sending that many of them out there. So the process was just, hey, Nolan, go out, hit all summer, and then we'll come back and get you right in the fall for pitching. So, he can be a really good small burst guy, I think. And, I got to go over all the rules with DH rule and bringing him in, bringing him out. But, he'll run right in the middle of an inning, get 3 outs or 1 out, and then run back to right field and play the rest of the day. He wants to probably be, you never know with those guys, but if you asked him, he's more of a hitter, And he pitches like he did against LSU, he may be more of a pitcher, but you never know. But I think he can do both. He's that talented. And you have to be a worker. I'm not saying everybody we got works, but it takes a lot more if you're not more practice, but also more recovery and all that type of stuff. The way you train has to be different. And so I'm excited for him. He could be one of those sneaky, big pieces out there for us this year. He had a great summer.
Steve, last year you didn't have a lot of depth in the middle infield after Dillon got hurt. You recruited some depth. Now you've got a lot of guys in contention for that second base spot. How do you kind of handicap that, and what are you looking for a guy to kind of run off and take that spot?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of guys. Practice right now has like 1 guy short, 1 guy third, and 6 at second. So they kind of all know that too, I think. I think we have a lot of different looks there. And you could see a lot of different looks from us, and the looks could change even in the middle of the game. That's where we can match up a little bit. Sawyer Reeves played all fall at shortstop as Dillon was coming off the knee injury, but he's playing a lot of second right now. Gatlin Sanders has had a really good fall for us, a left-handed hitter. Lucas Buckner played a lot of short, but had a really, really good fall for us. He could do some. Ethan Pulliam's back with us, so we got the kicker back. So Ethan's, full-time. He's playing a lot there and probably a lot in the outfield, so trying to blend him in. I think I'm probably missing somebody, too. They'll be pissed at me, but we just have 4 or 5 guys that could possibly play there, which gives us some flex. You need to have flex. It's easier to take an infielder and put him in the outfield than take an outfielder and try to put him in the infield. So we made a conscious effort to build some depth there.
MVP, Coach, you
brought up the name Jackson Owen again. I know you bragged on him some in the fall. Just what step is he taking, and where does he figure to get?
Yeah, he's right in the middle of everything. So, he had a great fall, had like 4 or 5 home runs, caught well, had a good summer. I was telling our coaches today, probably one of our glue guys. He's around here all the time. He's local. He knows everybody, but he's just even keeled. If I catch one guy, he's gonna be in that dugout cheering, and when he plays, everybody will be cheering for him. But he's gonna have an opportunity to get some big at bats this year and play a good bit. We got a good rotation with some of those guys in there, our catching depth. So it'll be. And we talked about that this morning. Who's ahead? Who's here? Who's because they're all a little better. Ross a little more athletic. Joe Powell probably throws a little better. Jackson probably got a little more power. You got some different things with each guy, so you can see him in some different roles.
Hey, Dad.
When you look at your freshman class this year, every year you've been here, you've had at least one freshman come up and make a big contribution. Who do you think that guy could be for you this year?
I'd probably say it's Charlie Foster, not to put too much on him. We had a really good fall. Him and we had a couple of those young arms pitch good this fall, but he was probably ahead of the group just from a little more polish, And so you'll see Charlie, especially being left-handed. I think you'll see him get out there and get some opportunities early.
Jacob.
Connor Hossack was a guy who took a big jump from year 1 to year 2 in the program. Who are some guys returning from last year that could make a similar jump?
God, that's a tough question. I'm just trying. There's so many new ones. I keep thinking. I think 2 of the bigger ones, but their names and they don't feel like new guys. But I think you're going to see Pico and Carson Ligon. Probably be 2 of the bigger ones. They both turned down the draft. Were like really good opportunities in the draft to come back and train with Parker. Obviously, Pico was coming back from his injury and was really good late in the year. Carson. We got him, and he was probably our biggest portal guy last year and was just kind of banged up. And he's done a lot of mechanical work and had a good summer in the Cape Cod League and has come back and really made some strides there. And they're both they've been around, they're mature. We say it all the time, you got to be old to win in this league. I think we got that with those 2 guys got a real chance to help us.
Sam. Yeah. Benjamin.
You brought in several guys who had really good years at mid-major schools, and obviously for them, those early season non-conference games and midweek games were huge deals. And last year, you had a few slip-ups in those situations, so do you feel like they can maybe sort of emphasize to the other guys how important those games are and make sure that they're going to be able to not take their foot off the gas in those situations?
Well, I think they all realize it right now. I think I've thrown it in their face enough. So they don't even have to. But yeah, they know. They have a good idea. My first year here wasn't anything I taught, but man, we didn't lose a midweek game. That's pretty special. That your team can show up that many days, and really and truly a lot of because we did not have a great middle of the week pitching staff. We just had a really good offense that showed up and played hard every day. Nothing to do with probably the coaching, more about the players who just that was their mindset, and so trying to regain that mindset of coming out and be ready to there's very few midweeks that you have to deal with. Sorry.
Doug.
Coach, looking ahead to opening weekend, do you have an idea of what the rotation will be? And can you talk a little bit about the Manhattan Jaspers?
Well, I'm worried about this afternoon in about an hour. Some of the similar candidates are it's Pico, it's Carson, it's Jacob Pruitt's had a good fall. Charlie Foster, Stone Simmons, we got to get through these 3 weeks. I thought it was one thing this time last year when we got to opening day, it was totally different. And a lot of it's just because of volume. Right? The first 3 weeks for us is we got to get enough volume of our pitchers and get them out there. And then you're trying to see what hitters can find their timing the quickest. And that's the hardest part. And so, sometimes I got Rowdy Jordan's out there hitting right now. We couldn't get his timing right till about week 4, it felt like every year, So trying to figure out, getting these guys and getting the hot guys out there week 1 is huge. Manhattan, I don't know anything about them. So I really, really don't. I know a coach or 2 up there, but this was scheduled a couple years out. So we'll be ready to play and be ready to go.
Robbie. I know in the fall you're being real careful with Dylan and Ross too, just trying to bring them back and not put too much on them. And I know you felt really good about them. Where are they right now physically? Are they good to go?
Full clear. So they're Ross will try, I got to do this. And I said, nope, you're full clear. Like, you're ready to go. So I got to hold the reins back on him because he likes to do everything. But they are 100% cleared. we've been here about a week, working, so we haven't had any issues, But they were like that at the end of the fall. I mean, the reality was they could have played it if we were playing somebody real. We were just being extra careful there in November, but they're ready to go, and I'm expecting big things out of them. They're both really good players. They've played really good in the past, and they could really form a really good part of our lineup. Those two guys.
Coach, with so many new players and freshmen out of the portal and just everyone that's come together for this season, what are you looking for out of the first month before SEC play from the veterans and the guys that have been here before, showing the new guys the way of how you guys do it here?
Yeah, it's going to take some leadership there. I think that's it's more about us coming together as a team, and figuring out our roles and our pieces. But this is awesome, but it takes a little to get used to. And I think that sometimes the new player has to figure that out a little bit, of going out there every day and playing in front of the biggest, best crowd in college baseball. So you got to learn how to control your breathing and handle a little failure at times. And but having some of those older guys along can really, really help. And like I said, that first month is you're trying to get ready for that Friday against Texas. And so everything we're doing is finding the right pieces, gaining confidence. Learning from our mistakes. We'll spend a lot of time talking about things that we need to improve on. A great team is not great right now. It's a work in progress, and so it'll take us a while to kind of grow as the season goes on.